Good evening. I would like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado for Monday, May the 12th, 2025. Would you please stand as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll of the members?
Scott Ohm,
Here.
Rachel Holteen, Amanda Weaver,
Here.
Corey Stites,
Here.
Janice Hoppy,
Here.
Leah Dozman,
Here.
Jenny Snell,
Here.
Dan Larson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Counselors, in your packet tonight, we have study session notes for April 21, 2025, and, City Council meeting minutes for April 28th, 2025. Are there any corrections to be noted in these notes or documents? Seeing none, we'll let these documents stand as presented with our thanks to the clerk. Are there any changes to be noted in the agenda for this tonight's meeting? Seeing none, we'll go with the agenda as presented. We have several proclamations tonight, and I would like to invite Julie DiTullio to join me at the podium. Bring your sign with you. How are you tonight? Good. Great to have you here. This is a proclamation in support of Mental Health Month, May 2025. Whereas good mental health is essential to overall health and emotional well-being for all children, youth, adults, and families, and promotes a healthy community. And whereas nearly 1 in 4 people in our communities experience a mental health condition each year. And whereas more than 17% of individuals in our communities experience substance use disorder each year, including alcohol and drug abuse. And whereas the lack of awareness of where to seek support, the stigma against mental health conditions and substance use disorders prevent many people from accessing care. And whereas, when mental health problems and substance abuse disorders are detected early and treated, people can recover and maintain a healthy and independent life. And whereas, increased focus on the prevention of mental health conditions and substance use disorders among children, adolescents, and adults through screening and early intervention helps reduce suffering and improves lives. And whereas, it is imperative that all members of our community, irrespective of age, gender expression, sexual identification, race, culture, ethnic backgrounds, education, or economic status, have equitable access to essential care, support, and services for mental health and substance abuse conditions. And whereas, the City of Wheat Ridge is dedicated to improving the health and well-being of its citizens and employees by increasing awareness, ending stigma, and focusing on the integral role of mental health in all of our lives. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Bud Starker, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge, and the Wheat Ridge City Council do hereby declare the month of May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month, and call upon all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our communities and resources to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, providing appropriate and accessible services for all residents, and making mental health a priority in our communities. Dated this 12th day of May, 2025. And Julie, if you would like to say a few words for you, bring that down here.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Julie DiTullio, and I am the Senior Coordinator of Donor Engagement at Jefferson Center. On behalf of everyone at Jefferson Center, from our dedicated board and staff to the wonderful people we have the privilege to serve, I want to thank you for declaring May as Mental Health Month in the City of Wheat Ridge. Each year, Jefferson Center serves more than 25,000 people, thanks to the power of partnerships with over 150 community organizations like the City of Wheat Ridge. Mental Health Month has been a cornerstone of advocacy since it began in 1949 and now more than ever will play a critical role in raising awareness and advocating for the support and funding for life-saving mental health programs and services in our community. The support of our communities ensures we can continue to provide services to those who need it most through vital care such as therapy, counseling, substance use treatment, crisis services, wellness classes, and community trainings such as mental health first aid and QPR suicide prevention training. Maintaining good mental health is fundamental to all for overall well-being, and it's something that affects us all. Mental health conditions are common and treatable. In fact, 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health condition in any given year, and life's challenges can impact anyone's mental health. Despite the prevalence of these challenges, many people will not seek help due to stigma or a lack of awareness about available resources. This is where your support for Mental Health Month becomes truly invaluable. By raising awareness, speaking out against stigma, and advocating for funding and support, we can create a community where seeking mental health support is met with empathy and understanding, and anyone can receive the care when and where they need it. Your support is absolutely vital, and we deeply appreciate your recognition of Mental Health Month and your ongoing partnership with Jefferson Center. None of the important work we do would be possible without your support. Thank you once again for your commitment to mental health awareness and for standing alongside us in creating a healthier, more resilient community. Together, we can make a difference.
Okay, sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Hold the ribbon.
We can hold the ribbon.
We'll hold the ribbon
All right,
together.
hold the ribbon together. Okay, Julie, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. I would like to ask Officer Cook to join me at the podium. How are you tonight? Thanks for doing this. This is a proclamation in support of National Police Week and National Police Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15 as Police Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as National Police Week. And whereas the people of Wheat Ridge, Colorado have shared their concern and support the following and have shared their concern and support following the tragic assault of Officer Alan Fisher, who received life-threatening injuries while on duty April 13, 2022. And whereas it is important to recognize and honor the sacrifice made by those who are injured or who die in the line of duty. And whereas it is important that everyone know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of our police department, and that our local law enforcement agency recognizes their duty to serve our community by safeguarding life and property, by providing protection against violence and disorder, and by shielding the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas, over the course of the past 56 years, the police department of the city of Wheat Ridge has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency, which tirelessly provides a vital public service in partnership with the law-abiding members of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Bud Starker, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge, and the Wheat Ridge City Council, call upon all those living and working in Wheat Ridge, and upon all of our community's patriotic, civil, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 11 through 17, 2025, as National Police Week, honoring law enforcement officers past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to our community, and in doing so, have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all members of our community. I further call upon our community to observe May 15, 2025, as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, to honor those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives, who have been injured in the performance of their duties. Dated this 12th day of May, 2025. I'd like to present this to you. Would you like to say a few words? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the Wheat Ridge City Council, on behalf of myself, the officers of the Wheat Ridge Police Department and command staff, I give you my heartfelt thank you for this recognition and honor. Thank you.
I would like to invite our Public Works Director, Maria DeAndrea, and members of her staff to join me. How are you tonight? Good. Good. You're with us. Thank you. This is a, okay. Didn't realize there was so many coming. I thought we had a lot of folks coming to look at you guys. This is the whole thing. Well, come on up so the camera can see you all. All right. Thank you all for being here. This is a proclamation in support of National Public Works Week. Whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. And whereas our public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that contribute to a sustainable and livable community for the people of Wheat Ridge. And whereas the Public Works Department manages all assets in the public right-of-way, including 133 miles of streets, 850 street lights, 45 traffic signals, 36 miles of storm sewers, as well as 190,000 square feet of public buildings and 230 vehicles and large equipment in a safe and efficient manner. And whereas this year's theme, People, Purpose, and Presence, highlights the three cornerstone ideals that motivate public works professionals to serve in their communities every day. Meeting the needs of the people is what gives public works a sense of purpose. Many times, public works professionals will never meet those who have been impacted because when things are going right, no one knows the public work's been there. Yet, with or without fanfare, public works is ever present, working in the background to advance the quality of life for all of our citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Bud Starker, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge, and the Wheat Ridge City Council, do hereby declare the week of May 18 through 24, 2025, as National Public Works Week in the City of Wheat Ridge, and I urge all citizens to pay tribute to our public works employees, some of whom are here tonight, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make, protecting our health, safety, and quality of life. Dated this 12th day of May, 2025. Thank you all for being here. Maria, this is for you. Would you like to say a few words? All right.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I'm so excited to be here tonight to recognize and receive this honor on behalf of the entire Public Works Department. I'll introduce these folks in just a minute. As the mayor mentioned, the theme this year is people, purpose, and presence. And the most important one of those is people. The people in our Public Works Department and the people that we serve, the citizens of Wheat Ridge. I came to the city just under 3 years ago. And the culture that I found here is one that we've continued, one that we've strived to enhance by bringing in the right people. We have some new faces here with us within the past just 3 to 6 months, but we're always very selective in who we're bringing in because we want to enhance and develop and maintain that culture, the culture of doing quality work every single day, showing up in a team, working with others to deliver service, and ultimately delivering quality while also choosing the hard right over the easy wrong in every situation. I'm honored and privileged to be the director and to lead this group through those efforts. Thank you very much, and I'll just introduce staff very quickly. Starting from my left, Mike Avancic, our Public Works Operations Supervisor, Dan Byers, our Facilities Manager, Bruce Eddings, our facilities maintenance technician, John Madrano, our administrative assistant, Dustin Lanning, our new engineering technician, Shane Wilburn, traffic technician 2, Eric Chakowski, one of our new project managers within the CIP division, Linda Bertrand Gonzalez, our new administrative assistant, just within the last few weeks here. I think this is her 3rd or 4th week with us. And then finally, Kent Kisselman, who council has met before, our CIP program manager. Again, thank you very much for this honor. We appreciate it. Yeah, maybe with the council? Where's Ike?
Okay, we are, all right, we will go on to our next agenda item. This is our public's right to speak portion of our agenda. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address their city council on any topic that is not on our agenda tonight. If you have signed up to speak tonight, I will call your name as well as the name of the next person on deck. If you would please come to the podium and introduce yourself with your first and last name. Please spell your last name so we try to get it right in the record. You'll have 3 minutes to address the council. There's a series of lights on the clerk's desk there, and there's a green light that comes on when you start to speak, and when it starts to blink when about 30 seconds left. It turns orange when there's about 15, and when it's red, please conclude your remarks. City Council appreciates you coming to speak with them. They have the right but not the obligation to address any comments you make tonight. So our first speaker is Jeff Richards. And I don't have anyone else signed up to speak from the hall.
Hello. As the mayor mentioned, my name's Jeff Richards. I'm here representing the Cultural Commission tonight. I'm a commissioner at large. Many of you may know that we have grants funding opportunities this spring. Our current deadline is the 31st, and so we wanted to take the opportunity to make that announcement here in public, and hopefully people out in the Ethernet are also listening. If you know of artists, musicians, cultural institutions, anything that could be considered culture, where an individual or organization is looking for funding, please let us know. You can connect with us either individually as your cultural commissioners or through the city's website, the page for the Cultural Commission on the city website, or we have a Facebook and an Instagram page. I have to say that we're very excited. I think many of you were here when our outgoing chair, Kathleen Martell, gave her presentation and talked about everything that's happened in the past year. It's been great. We're looking forward to more, and we've already had some other applications come in. We know that it's going to be a great year here again in 2025. So please spread the word. about these opportunities. You can get up to $500. And we support all kinds of cultural institutions and programs. For instance, I myself just went to see the Everett Middle School's musical. And given the distance of time that I have from being there myself, I found it both enriching and entertaining. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll ask the clerk, do we have anybody joining us online who's signed up to speak? Okay, that concludes our public's right to speak. We will go now to agenda item number 1. This is our consent agenda item. Councilor Larson, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. And tonight's consent agenda is, there are 6 items on the agenda. Item number 1A is a motion awarding a contract to Essential Contractors in the amount of $300,371 with the contingency amount of $30,037 for a total approved amount of $330,408 to construct the Miller Street Stormwater Improvement Project. At issue, 10 bids were received in response to the city's invitation for bids to construct the Miller Street Storm Sewer Improvements Project. The lowest responsive bidder was Essential Contractors Incorporated. It is recommended that the city enter a contract with Essential Contractors Incorporated to perform the storm sewer main replacement along Miller Street from 32nd Avenue to 35th Avenue. Item number 1B, a motion to approve payment to Bank of Oklahoma for 2025 principal and interest payments in the amount of $5,041,154.16 for the city of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, sales and use tax revenue bonds, Series 2024. At issue on October 24th, 2024, the city closed on Series 2024 sales and use tax revenue bonds in the par amount of $34,845,000 with a net premium of $3,856,048 for a total of $38,701,048. After cost of issuance and refunding of the 2017 bond series, the city received a total of $345,000 in project funds. The city's first interest payment for 2025 is due June 1st, 2025 in the amount of $1,055,029.16, and the first principal and second interest payments are due October 1st, 2025 in the amount of $3,986,125. Funds to cover the 2025 payments are budgeted in the 2025 2J bond fund budget. Item number 1C. Sorry about that. Motion awarding a contract to Brannan Sand and Gravel in the amount of $1,737,966.62 with a contingency amount of $173,797 for a total approved amount of $1,911,763.62 for the 2025 Residential Streets Program. At issue, 5 bids were received in response to the city's invitation for bids to complete the 2025 Residential Streets Program project. The lowest responsive bidder was Brannan Sand and Gravel. It is recommended that the city enter into a contract with Brannan Sand and Gravel to perform the work for the 2025 Residential Streets Program. Item number 1D, a resolution of the city of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, approving the second amended and restated intergovernmental agreement for the use and maintenance of regional criminal justice records management system. At issue, the City of Wheat Ridge Police Department is a member of the Records Management System Consortium, along with Arvada, Edgewater, Golden, Lakewood, and the town of Mountain View. This regional consortium allows for effective and efficient criminal justice records management beyond what Wheat Ridge Police Department could provide on its own. Item number 1E, a resolution of the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, approving a law enforcement recruitment training agreement. the Wheat Ridge Police Department requests approval to enter an agreement with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and the Lakewood Police Department Combined Regional Academy. And item number 1F, a resolution authorizing a building lease agreement between the City of Wheat Ridge and Wheat Ridge 2020 Incorporated, DBA Local Works for 9110 West 44th Avenue. The city entered into a 5-year lease agreement with Local Works effective March 2nd, 2023, for the purposes of establishing the Clear Creek Makerspace at a city-owned building located at 9110 West 44th Avenue. Local Works is seeking grant funding to expand the operations of the CCM. Grantors have recommended that Local Works seek an extension of their lease to be more competitive for funding. Local Works is requesting an extension of their lease with the city to May 12, 2035. That is a consent agenda for this evening.
Thank you. Well done. May I have a motion to approve agenda item number 1A through 1F?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve consent agenda items 1A through 1F.
We have a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Stites. Would the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. With that, we will go to agenda item number 2. Councilor Hoppe, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council Bill number 07-2025, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning membership of the Urban Renewal Authority. At issue in 2015, the Colorado legislature passed House Bill 15-1348, amending the Urban Renewal Statute requiring certain processes occur upon the adoption of a new plan area or a substantial modification to an existing plan. One requirement is the addition of new board members representing the affected taxing entities. This expands the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority, doing business as Renewal Wheat Ridge, membership to 13. This ordinance will amend the current code section in the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws to provide for new members.
Thank you. This will be a public hearing. It is not it is an ordinance on second reading. It is not quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
We do. Mr. Dahl will give you a little bit more summary. Mr. Art is here as well, our Urban Renewal Authority Director, if we have any questions.
Okay, Mr. Dahl.
Thank you. As mentioned in the description of the issue, this really emanates from a statute enacted by the legislature in 2015, really directing that urban renewal authorities should include 3 additional members from basically outside the city, 1 from the county, 1 from the school district, and 1 from all of the special districts, meaning collectively, so just 1, even if there's more than 1 special district in the city. And of course, there always are more than 1, but they only get 1 as amongst all of them. So together, that's 3 new members that would be from outside the city. Council saw this in study session and talked extensively about the opportunity to expand the city members, which at council's direction have been expanded to 10. And so you see in the ordinance that there's 1 per council district, as is common here in the city, 5 at large, and 1 elected city official. And those are all council appointments. The other point I guess I would make is that the city has not had to adjust its code section since 2015. It's been 10 years, but that statute only is triggered and requires the change and the expansion of the membership of the Urban Renewal Authority when there is a new urban renewal area created or there's a substantial modification of an existing urban renewal area. And that has not been the case in Wheat Ridge since 2015, but it soon will be as a result of the Clearview and Lutheran Legacy urban renewal areas. And that is why it's important to get this ordinance in place and the membership of the Urban Renewal Authority adjusted and expanded to comply with the state statute. Happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dahl. I have no members of the public that have signed up to speak for this, so we'll go to questions from council. We have questions from council of staff on this issue before I close the public hearing. I see no one with a question. I'm going to close the public hearing, and Councilor Hoppe, may I have a motion on agenda item number 2?
I move to approve Council Bill number 072025, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning membership of the Urban Renewal Authority on second reading, order it published, and that it take effect immediately.
We have a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Stites. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council? Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 3. Councilor Ohm, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Bill number 09-2025, an ordinance amending section 26-646 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws regarding accessory dwelling units and making conforming amendments therewith. At issue, this ordinance amends chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws to update accessory dwelling unit requirements to comply with state legislation and recent policy direction from City Council.
Thank you. This will be an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
We do. Mr. Scott Cutler, our senior planner, will give tonight's presentation.
Okay, Mr. Cutler.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Wanted to address the council regarding amending section 26-646, which regulates ADUs. We did discuss this with City Council at the study session on March 17th, and City Council directed staff to proceed with preparing an ordinance for consideration. So to give a little bit of background for those that haven't heard this presentation before, the state of Colorado legislature passed several bills in the 2024 legislative session related to land use and housing. One of those being House Bill 241152, which is accessory dwelling units, which requires municipalities to allow ADUs on any property containing a single unit home, and also requires an administrative approval process for ADUs. And the bill also includes some provisions ensuring communities are not being overly restrictive on ADUs, including arbitrary restrictions on size, setbacks, and design. And that bill takes effect June 30th, 2025, and also requires cities to submit a report demonstrating that they are compliant with that regulation. Great news, though, the city is mostly in compliance with that House bill as we adopted regulations in August of 2022, which allow ADUs as a use by right on any property in the city containing a single unit dwelling. And there were only 3 provisions where the city regulations only partially complied with the state legislation. I'll go over those quickly. One of those was the size of the ADU. We would need to update our ordinance, and this ordinance proposes to allow ADUs regardless of the size of the main house within 750 square feet in size, as long as they're not larger than the primary dwelling. And to expand upon that, the state and staff agree that that range really allows a usable space of about 1 bedroom to 2 bedrooms, depending on circumstances. And a lot of homes in East Wheat Ridge are well under 1,000 square feet. So what we were finding is that ADUs that were being reviewed were really restricted on the amount of square footage that they were able to build. And so this will help relax that while still making sure that the size of the ADU is smaller than the main house on the property. Doesn't change anything else about the size restrictions, including that 50%. I'm going to skip owner occupancy and come back to that because that's the most complicated. The bill also requires ADUs to be allowed in existing planned developments where single unit dwellings are allowed. Wheat Ridge doesn't actually have that many planned residential developments, but we do have some. And our current regulations required ADUs to be allowed only in new planned developments, but did not apply that retroactively. After review, we were not concerned about this because ADUs would still be required to meet development standards of the planned development in which they're located, which would include setbacks, height restrictions, and potentially reasonable design standards if those were included in the planned development regulations. So going back to owner occupancy, the bill generally prohibits owner occupancy requirements for ADUs. Really, this is the goal of removing a barrier to ADU construction and financing. Right now, our regulations require, as council is aware, owner occupancy for all ADUs, meaning that the owner of the property must live either in the main house or the ADU, demonstrated by recording a deed restriction against the property. The House bill prevents that blanket approach and instead presents 3 scenarios. One being that a new single-unit home being constructed concurrently with a new ADU, cities can no longer require owner occupancy, and so that the proposed ordinance will remove the requirement for owner occupancy in this scenario. For ADUs being used as short-term rentals, cities can enforce owner occupancy, and we do, and the proposed ordinance will retain the owner occupancy requirements for short-term rentals and also clarify that ADUs are considered partial home rentals, which require the owner to be on site. And lastly, the House bill requires that for new ADUs being constructed or converted on a lot with an existing primary dwelling unit that is currently occupied, cities may require evidence of owner occupancy, but only at time of application. So we couldn't enforce an owner occupancy deed restriction after the ADU is built. And the proposed ordinance actually will remove that requirement as well, based on council consensus from the March 2025 study session. We recognize the importance of requiring owner occupancy as part of the original ordinance in 2022, and know that that was important to council at that time. However, after over 2.5 years of implementing ADU ordinances and regulations and dealing with ADU applications, there are really some lessons learned about how effective the owner occupancy requirements were. Notably, ADUs have not really proliferated throughout the city, and then even without owner occupancy requirements, there's other factors that really limit ADUs, including costs and tap fees. And in practice, it was really nearly impossible to enforce owner occupancy requirements, particularly after a property is sold. Notably, the state law prohibits cities from requiring a deed restriction, and so it was already challenging to enforce deed restrictions anyway. So the ordinance will make the following changes. It will update 26646 related to size restrictions and owner occupancy requirements. It will make minor updates to our plan development regulations to allow ADUs in plan developments that are currently in existence. And it will also revise the development standard charts to clarify the size allowance for ADUs. We are recommending approval of this ordinance, and I'm going to turn it over to Lauren to briefly touch on one other item. Thank you.
Thank you. As you know, the original impetus for this ordinance was a change in state law. And Mayor asked a fair question the other day. If state law changes on this topic in the future or is repealed for any reason, would we or can we incorporate an automatic repeal of this ordinance if state law changes? You received a memo from Mr. Dahl last Thursday. We worked with him to outline a couple of options. So I'll just run through those real quickly. If council would like to require that this ordinance be revisited in the future, you have options 1 and 2. You could make a separate motion after you decide on the ordinance, directing us to have a future study session if state law is repealed or unwound. Or you could incorporate that required study session as a separate section in the ordinance. If council would like to establish an automatic repeal, that's the third option. It's a little bit more complicated. Most of these ordinances are not sort of single section or single phrase repeals, so we'd have to continue the hearing tonight, do some homework. We often make conforming amendments to try to make the code more clear, so we'd need to figure out what an automatic appeal or repeal would look like. And then the fourth option that's presented is essentially no action tonight. You know that legislation can change at any time at council's direction, so if the state law were to change in the future, we could take direction at that time to revisit this. It's not necessarily require your specific direction tonight. So those are the 4 options that were in that memo. In addition to any of the ADU provisions, we're happy to answer any questions about this repeal as well. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have no members of the public signed up to speak on this, so we will go to questions from council. Councilor Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lauren, can you answer for me, if there is a challenge and it gets repealed, it's my understanding, which may be wrong, that as a municipality, you can be more restrictive than the state, but not less restrictive than the state? Is that true?
It depends on the provision. So currently with state law, we can be more permissive, can't be overly restrictive on ADUs. If the state law went away, there are other cities that have our exact code that we have before you tonight. So if the state law went away, we'd have far more flexibility to be more or less permissive than the regulations we're currently considering.
Thank you.
Any further additional questions from council before I close the public hearing? Councilor Weber.
I'm just a little confused on what we're voting on, as far as, because are we voting on the repeal process, or are we voting on the resolution as it's written? Or are those two separate things?
I can answer that. What's in front of you is the ordinance right now. So that's what is in front of you to vote on. You have the opportunity, when that motion is made, somebody could make a motion to engraft onto the ordinance one of the options described. You also have the opportunity, if the motion passes and the ordinance is passed, it's still within the same subject. So you could take a motion after the ordinance passes to separately direct staff to bring this back for study session if the statute was held unconstitutional, et cetera. But that would be a motion that you could take that particular door, you'd take that motion after you've taken a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Okay, understood. So I can ask a question about the repeal process right now?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It's all fair game, Ed, because
So-
it's the same subject.
Okay, thank you. So having read through the memo, I am not understanding quite why the repeal process is alluring, if that makes sense. Like, it seemed to me, and I don't know if I'm just being naive, or there was some legalese that I just didn't really understand. For me, it felt like option one was like, well, we would just kick it back to city council, or excuse me, to study session, and we'd have another discussion. So what are the arguments for the auto repeal, and what would be the detriment to that process?
Sure, fair question. As Lauren mentioned, you always, of course, have that opportunity, and council directs that things come to study session, regularly as issues arise. And one of those issues might be, gosh, the Colorado Supreme Court held this statute unconstitutional as applied to home rule municipalities, or potentially the legislature felt differently in the future and repealed it in whole or in part, and that would bring into question, gosh, the city here did this in part in response to a state statute, so should we look at it again? That's always available to you. One of the various auto repeal or options ensures that discussion would happen more quickly and automatically. That's really I think the door number one in my memo was you could add an additional requirement separate and apart from the ordinance, but freestanding, that says, well, we've adopted this ordinance, but if one of these things happen, bring it back. You always have that opportunity, but this would require that if it happens, staff would schedule it. The other doors are a little more structured in the sense that they would actually add things to the ordinance itself to require that it be brought back. Or door number three, which is probably the most structured, mirrors something the state legislature does occasionally. When they adopt a statute, they'll say, okay, this statute automatically sunsets. You've seen these sunset provisions. An auto repeal is similar to that. And I'm using that as an analogy for you to sort of understand if you took door number three, it would require, a separate ordinance or section in the ordinance saying these parts of the code that as adopted are now going to be repealed. That's why we'd want to continue the hearing so we can make sure we navigated that for you. But it would be like a state sunset. And often you will see in state, in bills the legislature will adopt after they've done all of the work of adding to the statute. There's a last section that says this new article XYZ shall sunset on such and such date or after the occurrence of such and such an occurrence. So those are the choices you have in terms of the pros and cons. This is a policy call for the council. It's well within your jurisdiction to decide whether you want this to be more automatic or to arise just naturally after some kind of invalidity of the state statute happens. So that's really more a decision for you to make in terms of how structured you want the revisiting of the subject to be.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And getting back to our the issue with this bill tonight, It gets, my question has to do with owner occupancy and this Colorado legislature, that bill is pretty clear on prohibiting the city from requiring owner occupancy in the main structure. And if I read that correctly, the only way that we were thinking about enforcing that was some kind of a deed restriction, or at least that was a consideration. And so that's being changed here. But I need to be clear, and I hope you can confirm the way I read this, is when we look at scenario 2 under owner occupancy, that says an ADU used as a short-term rental. And these are, I guess, a different class in terms of the way the city looks at an ADU. If it's used as a short-term rental, the city can enforce owner occupancy.
Correct, yes.
And how do we do that?
That's actually all handled through our licensing process for short-term rentals. So the owner is required to attest as part of the application that they occupy the property if they're applying for a partial home rental. And I know that's not really something that we deal with as much, so I might defer to some people at the table, but I know that it's actively enforced. And it's been, I mean, our licensing program has been very successful regarding making sure that people have licenses. And
How
properties
often are
occupied.
those short-term rental licenses renewed?
Annually.
I'm sorry?
Annually?
Annually. So each time they renew, they have to attest that they occupy that location.
Yes. And we have staffed our licensing division accordingly to have the capacity to be very proactive with that enforcement.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Counselor Hop, you good? Okay. Any further questions before I close the public hearing and ask for a motion? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and Mayor, Counselor, may I have a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Move to approve Council Bill number 09/2025, an ordinance amending section 26-646 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws regarding accessory dwelling units, and making conforming amendments therewith on second reading, order published, and that it takes effect 15 days after final publication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Counselor Hoppy. Is there discussion on the motion? Counselor Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, I understand that the owner occupancy was extremely important to our community when we were originally looking at this. The temperature of that may have changed in our community, and it may not have. We haven't had people come in and talk to us specifically about that in a while. But because of that, I am prepared. I'll be making a motion after we vote on this one that we move forward with the option 1 to bring it back to the study session. So I just want to let everybody know we can vote and keep this bill as whole, and then we can vote on a second motion after that.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Counselor Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that in the event that statute adopted by the House Bill 24-1152 concerning accessory dwelling units is repealed by the state legislature or held unconstitutional by the Colorado Supreme Court in whole or in part, that city staff is directed to schedule a council study session to consider whether the council should amend or repeal this ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, we will move to agenda item number 4. Counselor Dozeman, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws regarding residential occupancy limits and making conforming amendments therewith. At issue, this ordinance amends Chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws to update residential occupancy limits to comply with the recent update to the city charter and state legislation.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
We do. Mr. Cutler is back in front of you.
Okay, Mr. Cutler, one more time.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This ordinance tonight will amend Chapter 26 of the Code of Laws to update residential occupancy limits to comply with both the vote of the people and the city charter and also state legislation. And City Council also discussed this proposed code amendment on March 17th and directed staff to proceed with preparing an ordinance for consideration. There's a bit more background on this one than some of the other housing-related bills. The legislature did pass House Bill 1007, titled Prohibit Residential Occupancy Limits, which prohibits municipalities from limiting the number of people who may live together in a single dwelling unit based on familial relationships and whether or not people are related. And this bill actually took effect last summer, July 1st, 2024. And as a response to this bill, part of the city charter cleanup, ballot measure 2B, was approved by voters in November 2024 to remove references to family unit within the charter and to remove the limit on 3 unrelated persons living together as a single housekeeping unit. The approval of 2B put the charter into compliance with state law, but other provisions of the code that reference family units were not updated. And so this ordinance proposes to match the zoning code to the charter, which is best practice, and will also clean up definitions to remove definitions of family and family unit and number of unrelated individuals. It does not impact group home regulations. It does not regulate other types of dwelling units. It's specifically related to dwelling units and how you count the number of people in them. And so instead, the definition will rely on the building code for safety, health and safety standards instead of an actual number of people. So with that, happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no members of the public that are signed up to speak on this item, so we'll go to questions from council. Questions of council on this item. Before I close the public hearing, nothing more? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Councilor Dozman, may I have a motion on this item?
I move to approve Council Bill number 10, 2025, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws regarding residential occupancy limits and making conforming amendments therewith on second reading, order it published, and that it takes effect 15 days after final publication.
Second?
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Weaver. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilor Weaver.
Thank you. I am just actually quite happy to see this. As Mr. Dahl knows, we've had lots of conversations in chambers about what constitutes a family and how many people live. And I think this really helps, and I'm sort of repeating this more for constituents that are sitting out there as far as occupations for care homes and things like that. So I think the fact that it's referring to building code rather than going to this arbitrary decision of how many people I think should live in a home versus how many people, I don't know, the mayor thinks should live in a home. Right? But thank you, and I'm supportive of this cleanup.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We will now go to agenda item number 5. Councilor Ohm, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Bill number 08, 2025, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws regarding freestanding emergency departments. At issue, the city received a request from HCA Health One LLC and its affiliate HCA Health One Rose to amend the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws to allow for freestanding emergency departments in the city and for the development of a medical campus at the northwest corner of 38th Avenue, Wadsworth Boulevard.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on first reading to set the date, time, and location for a public hearing. May I have a motion on this item?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 08, 2025, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws regarding freestanding emergency departments on first reading or published. The public hearing set for Monday, June 9th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. as a virtual meeting and in city council chambers, and that it takes effect 15 days after final publication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Hoppe. Would the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 6. Councilor Larson, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 6 tonight is a motion approving a termination agreement and a funding agreement related to the sale of Fruitdale School lofts. At issue, Fruitdale School Partners LLC intends to sell Fruitdale School lofts property to Foothills Regional Housing. The purpose of the sale is to ensure the long-term affordability of the 16 dwelling units. To facilitate the sale, certain agreements need to be in place to terminate the prior development agreement and to establish the financial obligations for the proposed sale.
Thank you. This will be a motion of the council. It is not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
We do. Thank you, Mayor. Lauren Mikulak, Community Development Director, will start.
Director Mikulak.
Thank you. You'll recall that we discussed this topic just a few months ago at the end of February. And since then, a few things have happened, so we wanted to share those updates. First, the Wheat Ridge Housing Authority received a similar presentation in mid-March, and they had a very thorough discussion and came to consensus to forgive their loan to the project as a means of supporting this sale. Secondly, we've submitted our paperwork to HUD, and they too have approved this project and our approach. HUD is the agency from which we're receiving the $2 million grant funds. They've been very responsive. We've had positive responses on all of our submittals so far. We don't have those dollars in the bank. Those will not come to us until we get to closing, so we're moving very efficiently. And then lastly, the agreements that are presented here tonight, they've been prepared in collaboration with all of the parties involved. So as you saw, first, the termination agreement unwinds the prior agreement. That's between the city, the Wheat Ridge Housing Authority, and the seller. The funding agreement is between the city, the Wheat Ridge Housing Authority, and the buyer, Foothills Regional Housing. And that agreement is a little more extensive. It's got financial terms, and it also includes commitments related to affordability and preservation and community benefits. Hopefully, the terms of those agreements look familiar. They should align really closely with the consensus that we heard from you all earlier this year. We don't expect this item to return to council if all goes according to plan, so I also just wanted to summarize some of our next steps. The Wheat Ridge Housing Authority meets tomorrow afternoon to review the same agreements. We're in the middle of completing certain HUD requirements related to environmental review and notification to the existing tenants about the sale. Our buyer is completing their due diligence work, and we don't have a specific closing date yet, but again, as I mentioned, we're all trying to move pretty efficiently so we don't lose any of these funding arrangements. Getting to this point has certainly been a collaborative effort. I have not been in the weeds as much as some of my colleagues in the room, so I'll just let you know that if there are questions about the details, Dana Ashley Ohm is here representing the buyer, Foothills Regional Housing. Shannon Terrell is our senior housing planner. She's been the project manager for this on the city side, and Mr. Dahl involved in drafting and reviewing the agreements, and he also has a comment to make on the motion before we take questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like we have all the heavy hitters here. If we have any questions, I have no members of the public signed up to speak, so I will go to questions from council. Councilor Weaver?
May I report? I don't have a specific question. I was going to report on the fact that I am the appointed person to the Housing Authority from council. May I report that, Mayor? Is that all right? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to let council know that we had a very robust conversation and really went down all of the different avenues of why is this happening? Where is this money going? Where did it come from? Really, the to-be previous owner was there. It was really helpful, and in about 2 or 3 hours, we got all that information out on the table. And so I feel like this has been well vetted by everyone in the room here tonight, and I really appreciate everyone's thoughtfulness on this collaboration. I think it's a very cool thing to come out of this situation. But I did just want to report back that there have been some really robust sort of fact checking, I think, would be fair enough to say about the conversation we had. And I'm sure we'll have another robust conversation tomorrow. So thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Larson?
Thank you, Mayor. And the first thing that popped out at me on this was in the under prior action on the first page of the memo, it mentions that the $2 million in the naturally occurring affordable housing allocation that was part of a grant from HUD will be reallocated to this project. what's left of the NOAA budget after this?
So the $2 million we had conceived to sort of stand up our NOAA program, we thought it would probably stretch, well, we didn't have a program criteria or specific objectives when we opportunistically submitted this to Congress. So any funds that we would use for the purpose of preservation would come from the Wheat Ridge Housing Fund, which is a special fund in our budget. One of the other things that we're working on is how to build that fund up. So we'll come to council again later this summer in a study session to talk more holistically about the Wheat Ridge Housing Fund and other programs that we could do related to preservation or other things. So after these $2 million are spent, the NOAA program would sort of go back into a holding pattern.
Okay, thank you. And then it does mention in here that as the process goes forward, the remaining, I believe, 11 units that are in the building at market rate right now will fit into the overall affordable category. And I guess my question is, the original affordables were deed restricted. Will these be as well, the new ones?
Essentially through the terms of the agreement that you saw tonight. So not a separate document, but this document.
Okay.
Yes.
And then just reading through this, and I understand there's been a tremendous amount of work going into this, but there also seems to be more than just a few loose ends. And it seems like any one of these, they find something they didn't know was there, some sort of surprise. Something could happen where everything just stops. If something like that were to happen, I guess my question is, do we go back to the drawing board and start over, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would categorize it more as a lot of pieces to this puzzle. And I do think it's less loose ends than more lots of puzzle pieces. And I do think that the terms that you're seeing in the agreement are because if any of those puzzle pieces fall away, it may undermine the entire deal. It's really tight, and each piece needs to work. The HUD funds, the housing authority's forgiveness. So yes, is there potentially a surprise that comes down the line that sort of unwinds this? That's possible. And those are the protections that were in the agreements, that it sort of all needs to fall into place to happen.
So you wouldn't necessarily have to go back to square one, but you'd probably have to take 1 or 2 steps back and then right at it again, right? I'm not anticipating anything like that because I know you guys are going to manage everything, and all the boxes will get checked.
Yeah, if there is a substantial change, we'd probably come back to council. If there's a minor change between now and closing, Mr. Dahl can probably speak to that.
And that gives me the opportunity to talk about that. The motion that's in your packet just says approve the 2 agreements. And that usually works here for agreements that the city's sort of in full control of. Here, of course, we're dealing with a bunch of parties, and there will be a closing. And all of you that have been to closings, whether it's recently or a long time ago, remember that there's always one more document. It's a form. It's this. It's a acknowledgement that you were shown this piece of paper. There's always that sort of thing. And these are complex and a lot of parties involved. So what I will be recommending when you're ready to take a motion is to elaborate on the motion that's in the packet and to do what you've seen me do before, which is to authorize various officials to sign such additional documents as necessary to implement these agreements. So when you get around to motion time, and I realize it'll probably be Councilmember Larson, I'm almost probably doubling the length of the motion, so it might be easier if I read it into the record at that point, and you can say if you're going to so move it. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and I know there may be other discussion. I just want to put down a marker that I'd like to have that opportunity when you get there.
Thank you. Are there any more questions before we ask for motion? Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. If I remember correctly from our February discussion, there are residents that will continue to live in the Fruitdale lofts. Has anything changed with them, or is that they're still staying?
Yes, that's still the terms, and they will receive a message. We've actually drafted that together, so it comes sort of as a unified letter from the city and Foothills to say, you may not realize we sort of had this history on this project. Here's the plan. So long as you sort of abide by the terms of your lease, that will remain in place. And if they have any questions, they'll be given contact information. So yes, same plan and a little more information going out to those tenants today, I think was our plan on May 12th.
Any further questions? Okay, Mr. Dahl.
Thank you. If I could suggest on behalf of whoever is to make the motion, that the motion read in full. I move to approve a termination agreement and a funding agreement related to the sale of Fruitdale School lofts and authorize the mayor, city clerk, and city manager to execute the same and such additional documents as necessary to implement those agreements, all in form approved by the city attorney.
So moved.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Stites. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilor Dozeman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And while this is not an optimal situation, I think the staff, and I really commend you for doing the best with what you have. And I think that this is the best outcome that we could foresee happening. And I'm really grateful that we were able to save Fruitdale Lofts, or Fruitdale, and also turn it into affordable housing, and that we're going to be able to maintain it as such. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Weaver?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also just want to report back about the Housing Authority, and its makeup is several people who've been on the Housing Authority all throughout the building of the Fruitdale Lofts. And so after much conversation, everyone felt, I think, very comfortable moving forward with the fact that people were not going to be displaced. And though it's only 11 units, it is 11 more units that we have on offer in the area. And it's a way to sort of save this legacy that many, many people in our community came together to save that building originally. And so there's a lot of things that get honored, and so I think it's a winning deal if we can get it through the finish line. And I agree, there are, I don't know if I'd call them loose ends. There are some unanswered questions, and part of the reason for sort of wanting to get it through the finish line is making sure we can all hold hands and get through the finish line together. So thanks, and again, thank you all to making this happen. I know a lot of people have done a lot of things to get us here. So thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Hoppy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that Foothills Regional Housing has been a very strong partner for us in our community. They've done quite a bit of good work in our community. I feel confident that they'll take good care of this property. This property is a historical property. When the renovations were done to it, they did the reservations to preserve that. I think it's Temple Buell. Is it Frank Lloyd Wright? And it's one of those guys.
It's not
Temple Buell.
Okay. It's one of those two names is in my head. So it's a really fantastic piece of architecture in our community. And in a community as young as we are, we don't have a lot of those opportunities to preserve. And so this does help us preserve that also. And so thank you to Foothills Regional Housing for helping us with door number 2, because door number 1 was not optimal.
Excellent. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We will now go to agenda item number 7. Councilor Snell, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a motion to adopt the Stormwater Master Plan. At issue in 2024, the city undertook completion of a stormwater master plan. The plan outlines various capital projects that will prevent flooding of private property. The goals of the plan included establishing a baseline hydrologic study and providing solutions that addressed existing stormwater issues. In addition, costs to maintain the existing system, along with the cost of various operational needs, results in a comprehensive stormwater program for possible implementation over the next 10-year period.
Thank you. This will be a motion of the council. It is not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, we have a staff presentation.
We do. Maria DeAndrea, our Public Works Director, is here this evening.
Director DeAndrea.
Thank you, Mayor. Just calling up the presentation here. One moment, please. There we go. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, so this is a year-and-a-half effort to update our stormwater master plan. As you may recall, the last one was completed in 1979, so we are due for a update after 20-some years. And the city hired Respec Engineering to conduct this master plan for us. And they were very thorough in that they went into a lot of the effort to basically dig into all of the systems that we have in place. Obviously, our intent was to look at how we can protect both properties, structures, and private property from flooding, as well as reducing pollution and ultimately deteriorating our natural ecosystems. Our stormwater system is made up of a series of storm sewer pipes over all 58 miles. Most of those were installed from the 40s to the 1970s. And much of the system, as we've learned, is reaching the end of its life and needs major rehabilitation or repair. We also know that there's several significant regional drainage projects that we're working on with the Mile High Flood District. And so all these elements come together in this stormwater master plan. The city is broken down into 3 major drainage basins. One, the green area there is shown in the map, drains to Clear Creek ultimately. The blue area, kind of in the southwestern corner of town, goes to Lena Gulch. And then the far southeast corner goes to Sloan's Lake in the pink. Our process that we went through to develop the master plan started with DRCOG aerial data as well as our own GIS data to produce that system model. We created more than 600 subbasins. We also updated a lot of our GIS data. While we have some, there was a lot of field work that our staff conducted, mostly within our operations division, to go out and just check the size of pipes, check how they were connected to each other. And so we've been updating our GIS system as we went along. Ultimately, that created the model that was analyzed by Respec in order and using data from the Mile High Flood District to basically look at 3 storm events, modeling a 5-year storm event, a 25-year, and a 100-year. When I came before you back in November of 24, we looked at a series of projects at that time. We've since bundled those into these 5 kind of mega projects. So while they're labeled as 32nd Avenue, for example, that first one, it is really a series of pipes that runs not just on 32nd Avenue, but sort of in an area that contributes to an overall plan for upgrading and enlarging our pipe system to ultimately get water away, again, from private property and private structures. So the total there for these 5 kind of mega projects totals $16,026,400. I'll go into these just a little bit more in depth. So along 32nd Avenue, running from Wadsworth Boulevard to the east up to Pierce, coming up to 38th Avenue, this is one of the large projects. So this would entail upsizing the existing storm sewer that's already in place in certain areas, but also enhancing that so that, you'll see here in just a minute, the next piece, it actually connects to this next mega project right here at 38th. So you can see the red right here at the bottom at 38th is actually the end or the northern piece of the West 32nd Avenue project. So together they form these two projects that ultimately wind up going under I-70 and connecting into the storm sewer system that parallels I-70. Similarly, we have two projects, Independence Street, that runs from the end of Holland up along, and there's various routes that we can take to do this, but it runs along Independence and then ultimately through Hoyt Street out to this pond area just south of Clear Creek. And as you can see here, right at the intersection of Independence and 37th, it connects to this pipe, Holland, which is in Holland. So between 32nd and 37th here at Holland is actually right here where it connects to Independence Street. So again, kind of one long stretch to get all of that water up to our Clear Creek. And then the final project is 44th Avenue, which collects stormwater along 44th and then ultimately brings it down into Clear Creek in this area just on the west side of Prospect Park. So besides the capital projects, which was the focus of the Stormwater Master Plan, we've also been working internally on the system maintenance and repair. As you, City Council approved tonight, a contract to replace a portion of Miller Street storm sewer north of 32nd Avenue. So that's really focused. Our focus has been on system maintenance and repair, being reactive instead of proactive. And our intent with putting all of this together is really to become more proactive in how we address the entire system. One of the other recommendations from the Stormwater Master Plan was to update our standards for new development as it comes into the city, and to ensure that there's cohesion and alignment with the Mile High Flood District standards, which we often reference. So that is a task before us. We're also we work very closely, obviously, with Mile High Flood District. This just shows 4 major projects that we anticipate coming online in the future. We're currently undertaking, in conjunction with Mile High Flood District, and the city has participated in a portion of that funding, to update the major drainage way plan for this Clear Creek area near the Clearvale neighborhood, basically between Kipling and Wadsworth. So the larger circle kind of in the middle of the screen there. That project, we're wanting to ensure that the recommendations from 2008 are still valid. They're rerunning the hydraulic analysis for that and then updating all the cost estimates. So once we have that updated study, probably towards the end of this year, we'll have a better idea of funding and can start to program that out into the future, working again with Mile High. I mentioned already system maintenance and repair. And we know, as can be seen in this map here, we have quite a few areas of concern that have been identified by staff, and we're now systematically going through televising those areas. And just like Miller, before we get a true failure, we're trying to address those ahead of time, get out in front of it, and try and schedule those repairs before we have a collapse of the street above it. That work will continue throughout the next 2 to 3 years. And then finally, I mentioned both these, the update to the Clear Creek Master Drainage Plan, as well as updating our development regulations. Overall, all of those elements, I guess 16 million is the key number here as I put that graph together. So just over 16 million for those priority enhancement projects, those 5 mega projects that I just talked through very briefly. Roughly 16 million is what we're estimating would be the city's contribution for those regional projects that were shown on that map. 16.6 million for our existing system repairs over the next 10 years. And finally, operations and personnel. So altogether, that totals just about $51.5 million in order to see the stormwater program grow and develop and really address the needs within the community. So with that, our staff's recommendation is to adopt the Stormwater Master Plan as presented, and I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have no members of the public that have signed up to speak, so I will go to questions from council. Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director DeAndrea. I had one question just on the, it was the figure 5 for the 44th area. that there was a significant jump between the, the figure 5.4. I think it was maybe that one. Yeah. That it said it was going from a 36-inch to a proposed 96-inch.
Correct?
Was it because, I'm just trying to understand, like, was it because it was just always undersized, or was it because there's new growth? I assume the water's coming from the left side, the northwest, and then going back down to Clear Creek, right?
That's correct. So in the map here, a lot of that water coming, as you stated, from kind of the I-70 and Ward area, for lack of a better term, traveling along 44th and then down to get to Clear Creek. It's a combination of things, I would say. It was probably undersized or not adequately analyzed when it was first put in, but also development over time has contributed to that as well. And so before our detention standards were in place, or even since then, we've put more and more water into the system, and therefore it needs to be almost tripled in size.
And then would that directly just go right into the Clear Creek?
We would hope that we can do some sort of detention. So each of
Okay.
these projects will obviously take more engineering, more
Yeah.
analysis. You know, is this the exact route? Let's say this one might be, but the Independence, we have some alternates. But, you know, could we potentially look at that area within Prospect Park for perhaps water quality and attenuate that water before it hits into Clear Creek, so that we're capturing some of that and releasing cleaner water into the Clear Creek?
That was generally going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Counselor Larson.
And thank you, Mayor. Two areas, I do want to talk about the utility and the fee schedule. But first, I have a question about the reference to coordinating, I guess the best way to describe, with CDOT, which is always going to be a challenge. But can you, there's very little definition around what needs to be coordinated. Describe a little bit about your concerns about the stormwater drainage along I-70. Are there areas of particular concern? Are these just general aging pipes, or they're failing, or what's the issue there?
Yeah, CDOT has encountered some of that over this past year and a half. As you all know, they've been replacing or installing noise walls along both sides of I-70, all the way from Pecos all the way to our western border here in Wheat Ridge. And they've encountered storm sewer in some cases that is deteriorated or damaged or just gone, similar to our situation. And so their undertaking, similar, is that really looking at all of the stormwater along both sides. There's a system both on the north side of I-70 and the south side of I-70. And so before we could, for example, in this project, we would connect into their system at I-70 on the south side, just east of 47th and about Lamar. And so we would have to justify that we could put that amount of water into their system, that we're not degrading it in any way, and that there is sufficient capacity in the downstream, in this case their system, in order to handle that water. So we would do that analysis and have to essentially prove to them, work with their drainage engineers to make sure that they can accommodate what we're planning.
So it wouldn't be a question of Wheat Ridge having to replace any of that storm system along the highway?
Our hope would be that it's not, that it's intended for the area, that it's large enough to handle that capacity.
Right.
If it isn't, then we would look at what's an alternative to this, where again, similarly, we could perhaps detain that in some fashion, so we're not putting it all in their pipes all at the same time. If we could somehow hold that back in like a detention pond or some other way, and then slowly release it, then there's probably capacity to do that. At this time, again, we haven't gotten into all those details, but that's what we'd be looking at as well.
And just to wrap this question up, CDOT is right now in the process of examining or looking at what they have there along the highway, because there are several areas where the city's storm sewers go right into the I-70, into that system. And I understand there've been, some issues in the past regarding that, but anyway, we'll keep working on that. That's a big concern for a lot of us in District 4.
Just to answer your question, I don't think that they're actively analyzing it right now. They've identified it as an issue because of the retaining wall project or noise wall project. I don't know that they have anybody or are moving forward with any analysis at this time.
Well, okay. All right, I'm going to leave that there for now. On their utility fees that we're looking at as part of the master plan, and that's not what we're talking about tonight. It is something that's proposed in the master plan.
Correct. That's one of the recommendations, is to evaluate for a potential stormwater utility fee be implemented across the city. We are currently soliciting proposals to conduct a stormwater rate analysis. So if our total here is approximately 61, forget the dollar amount now, $51.5 million, what would we need to charge to achieve this dollar amount? Knowing that we'd likely also go out for bonds so that we could move some of these projects up more quickly, there'd be bond costs associated with that. But so that's our intent. We're soliciting those proposals right now, and we'd get that contractor or consultant on board and hopefully have recommendations sometime this fall to bring back to you for consideration.
Recommendations for a structure around the utility fee.
Correct. A fee as well as a comparison with other neighboring communities so that we can see how we would land in relation to others who already have this fee in place.
So the fee would start looking at, okay, here's a big number, and one of the ways we may be able to support that is with the utility, a fee that allows us then to issue bonds if needed, or find other ways to support that outside of the traditional budget.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions of staff before I ask for a motion? Okay, thank you very much, Director. And Councilor Snell, may I have a motion on agenda item number 7?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the Stormwater Master Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Hobby. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilor Weaver.
I just want to thank Director Jandra and her team. And I obviously learned a lot about this with my students over the past few months. It is without question something we need to move forward with and think about. And so thanks. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We will now go to agenda item number 8. Councilor Dozeman, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 29, 2025, a resolution approving the revised procurement policy and guidelines, including increased procurement limits, thresholds, and authorities, and rescinding resolution number 30-2017 in conflict therewith. At issue, the City of Wheat Ridge's procurement program supports departments across the city by ensuring millions of dollars in project, supplier, and contractor spending is properly solicited and reported, and that best value is achieved. Staff is working to implement software improvements to streamline and modernize this program. In preparation for these changes, staff has revised the existing procurement policy to provide increased clarity, improved procedures, increased thresholds to streamline the process, and additional information about legal and ethical requirements.
Thank you. This will be a resolution of the council. It is not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, we have a staff presentation on this item.
Thank you, Mayor. We do. I know you heard about this in great detail at the study session a few weeks ago, but Whitney is here again this evening, our procurement manager, to give you a quick summary.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me back, and I appreciate your support so far. I recently presented at the April 21st study session, as Patrick just mentioned, regarding our updated procurement policy as well as proposed limits, thresholds, and authorizations. Council gave consensus based on 2 requests. The first being that we raise the approval limit for council from 150 to 250,000, as well as a regular revision requirement for the procurement policy. Based on market conditions and staff workload, as well as staff availability and what others are doing in the metro, we believe that 3 to 5 years is appropriate. And with that, I again thank you for your support over the last few weeks, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I have no members of the public signed up to speak on this item, so we'll go to questions from council. Any questions of council, of staff, by council? The position's right here. All right. Hearing none, Councilor Dozeman, may I have a motion on agenda item number 8?
I move to approve Resolution 29, 2025, a resolution approving the revised procurement policy and guidelines, including increased procurement limits, thresholds, and authorities, and rescinding Resolution 30, 2017, in conflict therewith.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Ohm. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, and I just want a big thank you to staff. I think this is, we're being progressive, we're being current, and, I don't know, I wasn't that surprised that our staff is always trying to not just stay on top of it, like trying to be a little bit ahead, and really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to say I look forward to our staff being able to be more productive and quicker in their production with some of the changes that we've made in this, and also with the addition of the ethics procurement that was added to it. And I think it's really fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. That brings us to agenda item number 9. Councilor Hoppe, would you please introduce this item?
Yeah.
You do? Oh, well, let me go back.
I want my time in the sun.
8, 9, all right, well. Councilor Weaver is ready to do it.
I'm happy to,
I will
Mayor.
let you do it. I'm
All
not
right.
sure what happened to my,
Thank you, Mayor.
my notes here.
This is Resolution 30-2025, a resolution approving Amendment Number 4 to the contract to the Colorado Department of Transportation for the Improved Wadsworth Project. Would you like me to read the issue?
Are we going to have a staff presentation?
You want to? No, I think the issue statement covers most of it.
Okay. The original completion date for the Improved Wadsworth project was established in the original contract between the city and the Colorado Department of Transportation as October 25th, 2025. Construction is currently ongoing with substantial completion expected by the end of 2025. Final completion is expected in the spring of 2026. As the project will not be complete by the contract date, it is necessary to extend the contract completion date to October 25, 2030 to ensure that adequate time is provided for the project closeout.
Thank you. This will be a resolution of the council. It is not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, do we have anything to add?
We anticipate you probably have some questions about that date, so does anybody want to ask a question about the 2030 date?
Okay, before we ask any questions, I want to note that we would normally ask the public to speak at this time. I have no one signed up to speak, so I'm going to go with Councilor Hoppe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is, I have an assumption of what the answer is, but we are not going to be seeing heavy equipment and earth moving and concrete being poured until 2030, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell us what type of activities will be happening?
Yes, so the project is on track to be substantially completed by the end of this year, 2025. So that means all of the lanes will be open, all of the landscaping will be in, all of the major components will be completed. There will likely be some wrap-up work in the spring. So probably shut down over the winter for the most part, and then come back, do any what we call kind of punch list items, final cleanup, but it will be completed. And the contractor is doing a wonderful job. They are on schedule and proceeding quite well. The reason we needed to extend this is that we know we won't meet the October 25th date of 2025, which was in the original contract with CDOT. Instead, are recommending that it be extended 5 years so that we have time, because there are both state and federal dollars involved. There will likely be what's called an audit, not only of the financials, but also of like the paperwork associated with federal Buy America provisions, for example. And so that just takes a lot of time. So a lot of that work that after the project is what we would consider complete will be a lot of that paperwork happening in the back, behind the scenes, if you will, but not actually affecting the construction or what travelers or citizens will be impacted by.
Thank you. And then just a quick follow-up on that. You said there would be an audit, which some people may call a look back, but when those things happen, if there's deficiencies would there potentially find deficiencies in a utility that didn't get completed, or like what types of things could be potentially found in an audit?
Typically, again, it's paperwork. So we've been doing, I feel like, a really good job of keeping up with that at each monthly pay application. Whereas in the past, maybe on other projects, that tends to be at the end. CDOT has been very diligent in keeping up with that, and that's a requirement now where the federal government, FHWA, Federal Highway Administration, is holding their feet to the fire as well. So I think we're in generally good shape. I think most of that would be paperwork, again, not that anything would be deficient in the field. All of that is being inspected on a daily basis. We're ensuring with our Wheat Ridge Water District, Wheat Ridge Sanitation District, all of their facilities that we've been installed have all been inspected by them, have been approved by them now. We're receiving final payment from each of those entities. So really, again, it's, I think, more of a paperwork exercise more than anything.
Any further questions? Council Weaver?
I realize that we've just had a lot of pain in our community regarding this project, and I'm just curious if there is, because I know no one's going to promise me anything tonight. But is there a date that we can say all businesses will have access, or, so that we have some way of communicating to constituents when it's going to feel like you can turn in places from Wadsworth? And I'm just wondering, and I'm sort of asking my other council members if they agree, is there a date we can sort of make a promise to the public that says, okay, the businesses will be open, you will be able to access these things from Wadsworth? Because I totally understand all of the different things that you just said. I just know that there's a lot of current pain still around the closures and things like that. So I didn't know if that was an additional motion, or if there's something we can add in of at least that specific, the access piece.
Certainly. And I can't give you a specific date right now. Part of the issue, and I experienced it myself today, going southbound on Wadsworth, I wanted to get to the post office and had to go basically all the way down to 38th Avenue to take a left to work my way back north to the post office. So because the continuous flow intersections will be one of the last elements that will be put in place, that really dictates a lot of the access issues and when the signals will be turned on, those interim signals that turn into, for example, that shopping center. And so we'll be able probably, to start to hone in on what that time frame is, but most likely that's, late fall this year. And again, as we get probably a couple more months in, we should be able to be a more specific date. We are trying our best to maintain that access, but right now, of course, they're working on the medians to build those raised planters. They'll be backfilling those and starting to landscape those. So a lot of that access across the median that used to be there for most of the project is going to be in the short term here, not in place. So there is some more pain to come, and hopefully just for a few more months.
I think it is important, Mayor, if I could real quick, to note that the original completion date was October 25th of this year, so we're not that far off. I know it has been painful. It feels much longer, but I've heard stories out there. Some people think we've been doing this for 8 years, 7 years, and it hasn't been. It's been, just 4 years, really. I get it. It's been painful. We understand that, and I think, as Director DeAndrea said, it's getting less painful every day. So it should be done pretty close to original schedule.
Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a couple questions. The first one is, when we get the project completed, I'd like to make a request that, if possible, to have some type of sign that just says, this is how much it costs, and really to be transparent and just show everybody, this is what we got for this much money. And so I think it helps them key in when we start doing future projects down the road, that they have that understanding of, okay, I understand when we're asking for bonds. So I'd really like to request that. And then the second thing is, so towards the end of the year, the 2025, that will be substantial completion. What is the warranty period when that happens? And then I guess the statute of limitations is what, 6 years after substantial completion? And if so, then that 25 plus the 6, but we still have we have the 2030, so we'll kind of be doing the closeout, I guess, through the portion of that 6-year substantial, or the statute of limitations, right?
Correct, yeah. The warranty period is, I'm going to double check, and if I'm incorrect in my statement, I'll correct this, but I believe it's 1 year from date of substantial completion.
Okay.
Typically, CDOT does not require a warranty period. So this was, because we had to use CDOT specifications, that was actually an additional special provision that we put in our conditions as part of the contract.
Okay, thank you.
So for 1 year.
Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just had to remind myself that, and it's in the memo tonight, that the original contract was signed in 2015. So we're 10 years in, and anticipating the approximate closure at that point 10 years ago, I think is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, the original contract, I let Maria do it, but the original contract included all the environmental work that was required, which doesn't touch the road at the time, right? So there wasn't construction since 2015, obviously. That didn't start until the fall of 21. But yeah, this project has been going on for quite some time. It's a federal dollars involved, state highway. There was environmental work. There was historic designations analysis. There was a Pell, or what else? What else was over it?
That's exactly correct. So as soon as, when we were able to receive federal or state funding, that's when we entered into the first agreement with CDOT. And obviously, because we're working on their roadway. And all of those steps leading up to construction took that 6-year period between 2015 and 2021 when we actually started construction. So Councilmember, or City Manager Goff is correct. And so it was just a lot of those elements, and obviously such a complex project. Land acquisition took a great deal of time, working with each individual property owner, as well as developing the plans, the specifications, and all of the environmental data to support and follow the NEPA process for the federal and everything else.
All of which takes a very long time. And then just one real quick question here. This amendment taking us project out for a few years down the road, does it add any cost to the project?
It does not. So again, the intent is just to give enough time for us to close all the various documents up, make sure that we've fulfilled all the obligations back to both the state and the federal requirements, and to give us enough time to do all of that and anything else that they might need before we can put a bow on it.
So that anticipated extra effort that's going to go in, is that included in sort of looking down the road? There'll be people, you'll be able to allocate the staff time to accommodate that and not have to overtime or adding in any FTEs or anything like that?
Yes, so it will be a joint effort between staff, our construction management team, which is AECom, as well as the contractor as well. So they understand that process. They're in it. You know, they have a lot of those documents. They're required to provide a lot of those documents. And so the contractor, Concrete Works, is very aware that this is a long-term wrap-up effort.
Great. Thank you. Director DeAndrea, does this time extension impact the liquidated damages provision in the contract?
It does not. So we are managing the working days and calculating that. So once we reach substantial completion, that will stop the time clock associated with any liquidated damages. So this process for the wrap-up and the any audits that might occur happens beyond that substantial completion date, and that ends the working days or that are allocated for the project.
Okay, so you anticipate substantial completion coming before the end of 2025?
Yes, and being within the working days allowed.
Okay, and did the substantial completion trigger the contractor's warranty period?
It does.
Okay, and so essentially we would have sort of 5 years to get the O&Ms together, the owner's manuals and all the other paperwork?
Usually everybody's kind of forgets a little bit and then they're on to other things. So we try and do that as quickly as possible. Okay. I would hope that we have a lot of that wrapped up as we're getting into the last few months of the project. All of those documents, everything else, again, the contractor, Concrete Works, is aware of what they need to provide to the city so that we have all that documentation.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, Councilor Weaver, may I have a motion on this item?
You may. I move to approve resolution number 30-2025, a resolution approving amendment number 4 to the contract with the Colorado Department of Transportation for the Improve Wadsworth project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Hoppy. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 10. Mayor Pro Tem Stites, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 31-2025, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between Jefferson County R1 School District and the City of Wheat Ridge for School Resource Officer Program. At issue,
Stop. I think we probably you have a presentation on this one.
We do. The chief stuck around
Okay, why
for
don't we not
this,
read the
so
issue?
don't steal us thunder, Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, okay. So this will be a resolution of the council. It is not quasi judicial. Now, Mr. Goff, do we have a staff presentation?
Chief Murtha, please.
All right, Chief.
Good evening. Actually, Chief Kellogg's going to do our presentation tonight. I'll just suggest that this project or this amendment to the agreement with Jefferson County started a while back and actually was ad hoc, but we were able to bring all the Jefferson County police districts in on this so that we have one cohesive payment structure. So,
Mayor, council members, as the chief alluded to, this has been a lengthy process, a long conversation that's been going on since I was an SRO back in 2008. And I'm actually quite pleased to be in front of you today asking for approval of this updated or amended intergovernmental agreement between the City of Wheat Ridge and the Jefferson County Public School System. The primary change, really, there's not a ton of change. There's a couple paragraphs that have changed, but in particular, it has to do with the Jefferson County Public School System paying what's identified as a service fee for our school resource officers. which, as I've noted, has been a long time coming. The specific outline for that is Jefferson County is going to pay 50% of our SROs' salaries. And for our 2.5 SROs, and I'll just outline that 2.5. We have 2 SROs, one that works in the middle school and one that works in the high school. And we are implementing a program right now that is a business liaison school resource officer position moving forward. We have actually initiated that this year, moving that forward and implementing that on the school year or in the school year moving forward. Pardon me. The specific numbers, each SRO is approximately $274.33 per school day, $137 for the school resource officer and the business liaison. And so that gives a total school day $685.90 that we will be reimbursed per school day. So I feel like that was, I think that was a very fair place to be. And it's going to be paid in quarterly payments, and we will be sending out statements to them every year, December 1st, so that they will have their budgeted allotment each quarter following. Any questions?
Before I go to questions from council, I will just mention that we would invite the public to speak on this item, but no one has signed up to speak, so I will go first to Councilor Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for working on this. So my question is specifically, these are for our Wheat Ridge schools, or is it also for some of the unincorporated Jefferson County schools that are
So
near
all
us?
the SROs in Jefferson County have reached an agreement. The numbers are specific to the municipalities or the organization.
Great, thank you.
Additional questions? Looks like we don't have any more questions. Thank you, Chief.
Very good, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Stites, I would entertain a motion on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 31-2025, a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between Jefferson County R1 School District and the City of Wheat Ridge for School Resource Officer Program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilor Ohm. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
All ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Okay. With that covers all of our action items tonight. I would like to go to City Manager's Matters. Mr. Goff.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have a couple items, quick items, but I want to turn it over to Chief Murtha first. He wants to give an update on our photo radar program. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Goff. We instituted the warning period for the photo radar program approximately three weeks ago now. So we're in our 3rd week of the program. That is not just a period to provide warnings to the community, but also for us to get our process down, and that is going quite smoothly. The work that the company is doing is exactly what we thought we were getting, and it's working out quite well for the police department. On average, so far, we get between 150 and 200 warnings, which will eventually turn into citations on a daily basis. That's just using the cameras that we have and not the handheld camera. So the handheld camera will add potentially another 50 to 80 citations for each day we use it, which won't be every single day, but we're working on right now a council action to designate speed corridors. That's in process, but that's a negotiation we have with CDOT and the state police so that we can do work on Wadsworth, Kipling, and potentially on I-70. Those have to be designated as speed corridors for us to use the handheld cameras in those areas, or potentially even to switch over some of our located devices to those areas in the future, should we choose to do that. So up to this point, we've been turning out the warnings. We've been approving them as per our agreement. We are the last signatory on those, and we turn those out and send them back to the company, and they forward them as a warning to our community or to people passing through our community. And Those citations are all $40 civil fines that are registered against the owner, except in the school zones where they're $80. And those while the ordinance allows us to trigger those at 24 hours a day, we opted to make those during what we consider reasonably appropriate school hours. So from the hours of 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., we go back to a $40 violation in the school zone. But when we think there could be an activity or a late night activity, we still maintain that $80 per citation to make sure that we're taking care of that vulnerable population at the school over there. So with that said, if anybody has any questions, we're happy to answer that. But that's program is going well so far. Councilor Hoppy has a question for you.
Thank you for that information, Chief. I don't think that 32nd Avenue is signed school zone. As you drive to the high school, I don't believe, I know it is by Prospect Valley, and I know it is as you get up to, which is not Wheat Ridge anymore, but as you get up to the middle school in Maple Grove. But by the high school, I don't believe that it's signed school zone.
I'd have to look at that. I don't know if have you looked at that or? Yep, go ahead.
We actually, via Jefferson County Public Schools, they identify it as a school zone. In addition, the law allows for us to place those cameras near parks, and so right across the street where there's also the park. So we're covered in both capacities.
Are you asking about the signage, though?
Yeah,
Or, the
it's not
specific
signed.
signage.
It's not signed. It's not signed for the high school.
I
school zone.
misunderstood.
And so I'm just wondering if we maybe want to get signage up that is a school zone, or, I mean, I
Yeah.
know that as you come off Kipling, the speed, as you're going east, the speed changes dramatically after about a block and a half. And then I think it maintains the same from Wadsworth to that spot specifically, but there are not school zone signage there.
I understand. I'll get that taken care of.
Yeah,
We can
thank you.
Get that taken care of.
Thank you. Mr. Larson?
Yeah, thank you. And a follow-up to that, part of the Avis discussion we had back in the fall included not just speed cameras, but red light cameras. And what's going on with them?
Yeah, I can probably address that, but we included that in our ordinances as well as in the contract. We had some change of personnel at the company that we work with, Ultimax. And so they're just looking at the contract again, but it's our intention, we've already identified 5 intersections that we're interested based on the volume of accidents and infractions that we've seen over time that we're potentially looking at for red light cameras. Those would more likely be on Wheat Ridge property, not on state property, but it would face probably mostly state roads, like the intersection of 38th, but 38th coming to Wadsworth, not on Wadsworth, passing through 38th, if that makes sense to you. So in order to keep it easy for us, and those are easier to install, but we've already started that conversation. We wanted to get this process going, and then once we knew that we could get, our folks trained up and ready to go, we would switch over to that other important safety feature that they offer as well. So continuing to grow the program, I don't know exactly what that looks like, but we didn't want to start off big and then scale it back. We wanted to just incrementally increase it. Thank you.
Just a couple other quick items. I think a few of you may know this already, but Foothills Regional Housing did receive their tax credit award from CHAPA for Phase 2 of the Ives project at 44th and Wadsworth. Phase 2 will include 98 units of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartment with some on-site services. They probably won't see any demolition or work probably until this fall on that Phase 2 of the project. Then I think you also know that Uncle Julio's, Hacienda, Colorado, did close several weeks ago, a couple months ago, maybe at this point. Just spoke with the property owner last week, and they have 3 really solid interests from 3 restaurants, so to backfill the space. So we're hoping that will happen sooner than later. Can't tell you who, sorry. I don't know, actually.
Okay, thank you.
City Attorney's Matters, Mr. Dahl.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okey-doke, we'll go to Elected Officials Matters. Let's start with Counselor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to just mention, I attended this morning, 38th Avenue Business, the initial meeting that Local Works and the Chamber partnered on for 38th Avenue businesses, and the kind of like rebranding, or not rebranding, but refreshing of the Ridge at 38. I want to just commend the Chamber and Local Works on that entire meeting and the process that will ensue, and also commend everyone that showed up. There was really good presence from business owners there. Really, really good discussions around ideas folks are having around possibilities for more activation, art walks and things like that, First Fridays. But also just the level of communication overall from some of the business owners, and the excitement around the green, and completion of the green and the green being open again. And also just the folks, kind of voicing their concerns around some pedestrians, knowing that the green is going to be a popular spot, and walking back and forth across 38th. Alex Rose, our PIO, was there, and it was great to hear from him on just, making sure he was hearing everyone, but also, there's a lot of concern for folks, by the business owners, for folks walking, and also encouraging folks to walk to businesses and go see art and things like that. So just a really great meeting, great first meeting. Lots more to come on that, but I just wanted to say I was glad to be a part of it. And there's going to be some great things that come out of it. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Dozeman.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And I have to say that I still have a really good buzz on after the capstone project at Wheat Ridge High School on May 1st. That was enlightening, and it just made me feel really good about the next generation of Wheat Ridge residents and young people. They're a very, very impressive group. This last Thursday, I got to attend the 2025 Senior Heroes Award out at Lutheran Hospital, and that is sponsored by the Seniors Resource Center and the Jefferson County Council on Aging. There were 6 people that have gone to extraordinary lengths to contribute to the community overall. The awards are well-deserved, and the event happens to be something that I think we do very well by supporting. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Friday, I attended the Wish for Wheels over at Stevens Elementary, and which was put on by Rose Hospital, and it was a really nice event. It was a perfect day. The weather was great. Seeing those little kids, with their, the 5th graders, putting those bikes together. As a rare bonus, my 5th grade niece was there, and so when she saw me, she rushed up and gave me a big hug, and those are special moments. So that's what I got. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Counselor Weaver.
Thank you, Mayor. Sort of to tag along with what Councilmember Larson said, we've got a lot of graduating seniors from both college and from high school, and it's kind of an unstable job market. And I just wanted to encourage all of my colleagues and all of you out there that if you know someone who's graduating, talk to them about what their next steps are and ask to see their resume. And if you know someone you can connect them with for an informational interview, it's a really kind of scary time for people coming out with degrees, and we want to show them how proud we are of them. And so just reach out and not only tell them congratulations, but tell them about what you do. Thanks.
Terrific. Counselor Hoppy.
Nothing tonight, thank you,
Nothing
Mayor.
tonight. Mayor Pro Tem Stites.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank you. I attended your coffee on Saturday, and as usual, great group of people, great questions and comments there. My wife and my daughter Riley had the opportunity to head down to the Makerspace on Saturday afternoon for the Crafternoon tea, and Riley made some really cool things for Mother's Day the other day. So as usual, hopefully you bought your mom something pretty and something awesome. And hopefully you bought it here in Wheat Ridge because we have some fantastic businesses. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Want to thank all the folks who joined me on Saturday morning, second Saturday, Coffee with the Mayor at Vanola's. We had a great group. The Mayor Pro Tem came, and our city treasurer came and talked about all of the things that are happening in Wheat Ridge. Right after that, I went over to the Wheat Ridge Historical Park at 46th and Robb and had a really great time looking around at we had the maypole dancers were dancing around the maypole once they got the music going and figure out which way to go. But it was a great group there. A lot of great historical things going there, and we've got a mural going up on the post office, which is really going to be a neat thing to happen. So I want to thank all those folks for putting that on. They had invited me the Sunday night before for a potluck over there, and I want to thank them. We got a great group doing that. We went over to my family went over to Rolling Smoke to have dinner the other night. Had a great dinner there. It was nice to be there. Went by Wolf and Wildflower, and they've got nice people sitting out on the patios out there having dinner and a glass of wine. So it looks like we've got some great entertainment going on. The Green at 38th is coming along. Really excited about that project and ready to keep that. See that in the next chapter. So a lot of great things going on in our city. I hope that everyone will drive safely and slowly through our city so that we all get home at night the way we want to. So there's no more business to come before us tonight. We will confirm with me, be here next week for a
Study session.
Yep. And if there's no more business, we will stand adjourned. Thank you. Good night.